All right. Oh, excuse me. Alrighty, welcome back, everyone. We just talked about all of the first round games. We got to everything that you guys need to know about these first round games, all of my picks, and I am picking Tennessee. That is the one upset that I'm going with this upcoming weekend. I just think that D line is going to be a little bit too much for that dinged up offensive line for Ohio State. But we got other bowl games going on this weekend. I want to make sure we get to all of them because there was a great one last night. I'm sure there will be a couple of great ones tonight and so forth. But let's get to that one last night. Memphis tops West Virginia 42-37, and this was a wild game. There's no doubt about that. Memphis got up 17-0 pretty early in the second quarter, and then West Virginia just woke up. They were absolutely dominant pretty much for the rest of the way. They scored starting late in the first half. West Virginia scored on every single drive they had the ball, except for the final one where they threw a pick and this game kind of ended. And there was a second there where it looked like he fumbled, might have gotten it back. It was wild. But at the end of the day, Memphis was able to get the pick. They were able to kind of run the clock down, and that was that. A huge win for Memphis to end off a really, really good season that kind of missed the mark just by a little bit. You know, you felt like it was a team that definitely could make a run into the kind of the CFP race type thing. Lost a game to Navy, really took a hit. If that game flips, they're probably one of those teams that's very firmly in the mix, at least going into that final week. Boise State probably would have still beaten them out, but they definitely would have been much more in that mix if they just had one of those losses go another direction early in the year. But in this game, the wide receiver stole the show. Hudson Clement, the wide receiver for West Virginia, 11 catches, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns. Absolutely remarkable. For Memphis, it was Demir Blankupsy, it was Rock Taylor, over 100 yards receiving for both of them. Really remarkable stuff from all those receivers, and it was a lot of fun. A lot of deep balls, a lot of big-time plays from those wide receivers, and that's always what we want to see. But West Virginia staring down a pretty uncertain future. You do have Garrett Green probably out the door. Huge shout-out to him for kind of ending his career the right way. Been a really, really fun player to watch throughout his career. Just does not take no for an answer in a lot of respects. So very, very fun guy. And then you do have Rich Rod coming in. So a lot of things will be different about this West Virginia team. Kind of the same thing with Memphis. With Seth Hannigan walking out the door, there's going to be a lot of different things about that Memphis team. But very cool to see a lot of the players on these teams, a lot of the seniors be able to play out their last moment. West Virginia comes out on the wrong side, but a lot of really cool things happening around Morgantown that could develop into a really, really fun program over the next couple of years. Western Kentucky James Madison will be going on tonight, the Boca Raton Bowl, and this is a really interesting one because it does have some portal dynamics, as you can imagine. But Caden Veldkamp is going to enter the portal. He will be in right after this game. He is going to play the game tonight. He will be on the road for different visits tomorrow. Definitely a couple of schools in this one. I think Wake Forest could be one to watch. We just had Dave Clawson step down there. We had I'm blanking on his name right now, but the quarterback that was committed there, has moved on from there. So there is a little bit of an opening. Very talented passer of the ball. They also lost TJ Finley, the backup quarterback. He's finding his way to Tulane. So a lot of movement around this time of year and a lot of different things that these coaches have to worry about. But JMU, you're going to be they are a run-first team. George Pettaway, Wayne Knight leading the way. Alonzo Barnett is a huge piece to that as well in the quarterback run game. But it's one of those things where you're facing one of the worst run defenses in the entire country. Western Kentucky gives up 224 on the ground per game. It is going to be an absolute battle for them to be able to stop this group up front for Western Kentucky. And then this game really is two offenses that fit the defense's weaknesses. Two offenses that love James Madison loves to run the ball. Western Kentucky cannot defend it. Western Kentucky loves to throw the ball all around the field. James Madison doesn't necessarily love that too much. So it's going to be a battle back and forth. It could just come down to who has the ball last type of thing. But I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be a really, really good one. Both these teams are looking for a big-time kickstart into 2025, particularly James Madison with a lot of the questions around there. But I think it's one of those things where if you have one really good pass game, if you have one really good run game, probably going to lean towards the run game. Less variability there. I will go with James Madison. I will take the points here just to go towards my record of 1-1 in bowl games right about now. I'll lean into this. I will take James Madison -7.5, and I will be keeping track of that record throughout bowl season. Just got to hope that it's at least near 500 is what I will take in that one. Cal against UNLV is a fun matchup to me, and it's not we will not see Fernando Mendoza in this game, obviously rather upsetting. And then for UNLV, we won't see Barry Odom, and their interim coach, Brandon Marion, I believe will be coaching this game tonight, but has been hired as the Sacramento State next head coach. Very, very good hire by them. Feels like a really interesting fit, and we'll talk about a little bit more detail on Friday, because I think that's one of those schools, one of those hires that could end up being a really, really good one in about 5 years' time. But we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail later. But for UNLV, you still have Hajj Malik Williams intact. You still have Ricky White. You still have Jaden Thomas on this roster. Have lost some guys here and there. Tony Grimes did leave. Greg Burrell, the running back, did leave, but a lot of ability on that field, no doubt about that. Jackson Woodard still with the team. This will be the last time that he plays UNLV football, and then I just got to hope that I see him on Sundays. Very talented player, become one of my favorite guys this year, and would very much like to see him get drafted at some point in April. But for Cal, they are going to be without Fernando Mendoza, their starting quarterback. It is going to be Chandler Rogers. The transfer from North Texas has gotten in a little bit throughout the year, but not very consistently. A little bit more of a running threat than anything else, but a very talented quarterback nonetheless. Had a great year in North Texas last year, and definitely can be a big time factor in this one, especially with Javion Thomas and Jaden Knott still in that backfield. You got to feel pretty good about where you are if you're Cal, especially with losing your starting quarterback. So I think it's going to be an interesting game where both teams have some big changes to make and some big decisions to make on both sides of the ball. But when I look at what Cal is going to do, very excited to see what Chandler Rogers is going to be able to do in this game. But I think UNLV's experience, I think their ability on the outside, and I think just the confusion that their offense causes, probably going to be a little bit too much for that Cal team. I will take UNLV to win this one. I'll take them with the points as well. Georgia Southern, Sam Houston State is a very interesting one where one team has pretty good stability. You know, Georgia Southern's hanging out. It looks like why am I blanking on his name right now? The old USC head coach. I cannot remember right. Clay Helton. That's what I was going for. Clay Helton it looks like he is going to stick around there, but for Sam Houston State, they're still trying to find their head coach. Casey Keeler took the job over there at Temple, and now they're looking around. They're trying to find who the next guy is. Good news is Hunter Watson will be playing in this game. A huge get for that program. Need to keep that guy around at least for this game, and then we'll see what happens afterwards. But on the other side, J.C. French, the starting quarterback for Georgia Southern, been really good the last 5 weeks. 6 picks, only 2 INTs, been really good running the football. That's kind of his calling card, kind of both these teams' calling cards, really, because both these teams love to run the football. Sam Houston especially. They run the ball about 60% of the time with a guy like Jay Ducker, who's over 700 yards on the year. Hunter Watson, we talked about, over 600 yards. DJ McKinney, almost to 500 yards on the year. So very talented three-headed monster in the run game there. This is going to be a fun game. I think it could go back and forth just a little bit. Both offenses that are going to run the football, but definitely have the ability to score some points. We saw Georgia Southern earlier this year against Boise State put up, I think, 54 points or something crazy like that. So very, very talented offense, no doubt about that. I will take the Eagles. I'll lean towards the team that has a little bit more stability right about now, a little bit more ability to say, we know what we need to do, we know our personnel, we know all of that information, we can move forward and have a very crisp game plan. I'll take Georgia State. I'll take them minus the points in this one as well. Ohio-Jacksonville State, a game that was really, really cool about 2 weeks ago when both these teams had their coaches. Now both those coaches are in different places. Tim Albin, the old Ohio coach, has taken the job over there at Charlotte. Rich Rod obviously is off the going over to Morgantown. I lost my train of thought there, but he's on the way to West Virginia, and it's going to be a game that's going to be really interesting to watch unfold. It's a lot of players that actually did stick around. Not a lot of these players have found their way out of the program, which is absolutely fantastic, and it is going to be a ground and pound game. We talked about how much those other teams do. These teams put those teams to shame. You have Jacksonville State. They run the ball about 67% of the time. And it is going to be Tyler Huff. It is going to be Trey Stewart leading the way. Trey Stewart's a guy that you're going to want to watch for the NFL draft. And we'll get to that in time. I promise you that. But Ohio with Navarro and Anthony Tyus about 60% of the time running the ball. It's going to be just who can execute better in that respect, who can stop the run a little bit better, who can be a little bit more stout up front, and then who can make those plays, those big-time plays. And I think the margins are going to be remarkably thin. I think it's going to be a really, really good fight in this one. I'm going to go with the best player on the football field, and to me, that is Trey Stewart, the running back for Jacksonville State. I'll go with the Gamecocks. I think they do get a win here. I think Tyler Huff is just going to be too tough to take down. I think Trey Stewart's going to make all types of plays. I'll take Jacksonville State, and yeah, obviously, I will take the points as well, just for fun. And then Tulane, Florida, a game that frankly should be a little bit more fun, but Darian Mensah has found his way over to Duke. Ty Thompson will start this game, and then he will enter the portal after. So a little bit of an audition tape for a lot of the other teams out there for Ty Thompson. Love the way that John Summerall has kind of handled all of this because it's been not ideal. There's no doubt about that. It's been a little bit of a rough time over there in Tulane. He's handled it very, very well. Very, very cordial and been really kind of the model of what I think coaches should kind of act in these type of situations. Done a great job in. Maybe if Ty Thompson balls out, maybe he'll stick around. Who knows? But DJ Lagway is the guy that you're kind of looking for a Miller Moss performance out of. You're looking for a Nico Iamaleava performance out of because you want to get excited about 2025. You want this guy to go out there, just tear them to pieces, go to work, and just leave you feeling like you're going to win the national title next year. And he very well could. This Tulane defense is porous in certain points in that back end, and Tulane's ability to run the ball could be a huge asset in this game. Mekhi Hughes is an absolute problem, definitely a guy that can cause some issues, and then they have to make some plays on that back end. While there have been some holes back there, they have made some mistakes, they do have 31 pass breakups, they do have 12 picks on the year, so they can make those big plays. Can they make them consistently enough, and can they make them against a guy like DJ Lagway is going to be a big-time question. But I do think Tulane's going to be ready for the fight. I don't think John Summerall's teams are going to walk into any of these games and feel like they can't win or feel like they just need to go out there, go about the motions and then move on to the next day. That is not the way that they play their games. That is not the way that they go about their business. But at the end of the day, one team has DJ Lagway. I will take the Gators. I will take the points as well. I think Florida pulls away in this game. I think DJ Lagway puts on a show. And I think just about everyone is picking him to be the Heisman right after this game. So I think he's remarkable. It will be the prerequisite for that Notre Dame-Indiana game that night. Going to be a really awesome one. And hopefully DJ Lagway and Ty Thompson put on a little bit of a show for us. So remarkable week up ahead. You got bowl games coming up. You obviously have the CFP games. But we got to get to the transfer portal. We got to talk about a million different things. The December and how it's an absolute disaster. USC and Lincoln Riley kind of crumbling at the seams right about now. A lot of different questions still out there to be had, and I promise you, we will get to all of them on Friday. We will not have a show tomorrow. Enjoy yourselves, enjoy your families, do whatever you need to do. We will be back on Friday. We'll break down the transfer portal. We'll break down the month of December, first round questions. We'll get to X factors. A million different things on Friday's show to make sure you guys are fully ready for those first round games. But I will see you then. Thank you once again. Oh, excuse me. Before I get out of here, thank you so much for tuning into the GSMC College Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support does mean a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. It does make a huge difference. Also, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all the social pages for all the content and updates you could possibly need. We got great people covering every single sport you could want. So anything in the world of sports you need, come on over to GSMC and we have you totally covered. But thank you once again for listening. I will see you back here on Friday, hopefully with some better language from the chat. But at the end of the day, I will see you back here on Friday, and I'll see you then.